Tonight, as the world settles into quietness and the familiar sounds of the day begin to fade into the distance, allow your attention to drift gently outward, beyond the walls around you, beyond the city lights, beyond the clouds and the atmosphere, beyond the moon and the planets and the warm neighborhood of our sun, far beyond everything that feels immediate and human. There is a larger story unfolding, a story written not in years or centuries, but in trillions upon trillions of years. A story so vast that even the oldest mountains on earth seem fleeting by comparison. And yet, despite its unimaginable scale, it is a strangely peaceful story, because the universe does not hurry. Galaxies do not rush. Stars do not feel urgency. The great machinery of the cosmos unfolds with extraordinary patience. Every nebula, every black hole, every distant cluster of stars moves according to rhythms so slow that they seem almost motionless. Tonight, we will travel through those rhythms. We will wander across oceans of darkness. We will visit the final generations of stars. We will drift through fading galaxies. We will watch the universe grow older and older still, until the last lights begin to disappear, until warmth becomes rare, until silence stretches farther than imagination can comfortably follow. This is not a story of catastrophe. It is not a story of destruction. It is a story of change, the slowest change imaginable, the gradual settling of a universe that has been active for longer than any mind can truly comprehend. So allow your thoughts to loosen. Allow distant worries to drift away, and together we will float through deep time, toward the quiet horizon of everything. In the silence of deep space, every star is living on borrowed time. A star appears eternal from the perspective of a human life. Generations come and go beneath its light. Civilizations rise and vanish. Languages are invented and forgotten. Yet even the brightest star is temporary. Deep within every star, nuclear fusion slowly transforms simple hydrogen into heavier elements. Tiny particles collide. Immense energies are released. Light begins a long journey outward. The glow that eventually reaches distant planets is the result of countless reactions occurring in hidden stellar hearts. For millions or billions of years, this process continues, but not forever. Every star possesses a finite supply of fuel. Even the most magnificent suns are quietly spending themselves with every passing second. If one could observe the universe from an impossible distance, stars might seem like campfires scattered across an endless plain. Some burn brightly, some flicker faintly, some have only just ignited, others are already fading into darkness. The night sky feels permanent because human lives are brief, but permanence is often an illusion created by limited perspective. The stars remind us that longevity and eternity are not the same thing. Over millions of years, galaxies drift through immense cosmic seas. Our own galaxy, the Milky Way, contains hundreds of billions of stars. Seen from within, it appears as a pale river of light stretching across darkness. Seen from far away, it becomes something else entirely. A vast, rotating city of suns. Spiral arms curl outward like luminous waves. Clouds of gas gather and disperse. New stars emerge from cold nebulae. Old stars quietly approach the ends of their lives. Nothing stands still. Even apparently fixed constellations slowly rearrange themselves. The familiar patterns visible above Earth tonight would become unrecognizable over long enough periods. Stars wander. Galaxies evolve. The cosmos reshapes itself continuously. Yet these changes occur so gradually that the universe often appears calm. Like an ocean viewed from high above, its deeper currents remain hidden. Perhaps that is one of the most comforting lessons in astronomy. Movement does not always announce itself. Some transformations are so gentle that they resemble stillness. Elsewhere in the universe, darkness is not merely the absence of light. It is a place, a presence, an environment. Between galaxies lie regions so vast and empty that language struggles to describe them. A beam of light can travel for millions of years without encountering anything substantial. No planets, no stars, no dust clouds, only distance, only silence. Yet, even these emptinesses possess structure. Invisible fields stretch across space. Gravity extends its influence. Ancient radiation drifts through the cosmos, carrying memories from the universe's earliest moments. Modern instruments reveal that apparent emptiness is often more complicated than it seems. The void is not truly empty. It is simply quiet. And quietness, whether in a forest at night or between distant galaxies, can possess its own kind of beauty. Far beneath the surface of Earth's oceans, another form of darkness waits. Sunlight cannot reach these depths. The water grows cold. Pressure increases enormously. The landscape becomes strange and unfamiliar. Yet life persists. Delicate creatures glow softly in the blackness. Tiny flashes of bioluminescence drift through the water like wandering stars. Scientists who explore these regions often describe them as alien worlds, and in some ways they are. The deep ocean and deep space share a curious similarity. Both are vast. Both are difficult to explore. Both contain mysteries hidden within darkness. And both remind us that life can exist beside immense unknowns. Perhaps comfort is not found in eliminating mystery. Perhaps comfort is found in learning to coexist with it. Long before modern science, people looked upward and wondered whether the stars would last forever. The question lingered across cultures and centuries. Ancient observers could not know about fusion or stellar evolution, yet they sensed something profound. The sky inspired questions larger than everyday existence. Questions about beginnings. Questions about endings. Questions about permanence. Today, astronomy has provided remarkable answers. And among those answers is a surprising truth. The universe itself has a future extending so far beyond human timescales that ordinary numbers become almost meaningless. Trillions of years, quadrillions of years, numbers so large they begin to feel less like measurements and more like landscapes. As we continue our journey, we will wander through those landscapes together. Slowly, patiently, one quiet age at a time. Because the end of the universe, strange as it sounds, is not a sudden event. It is a long evening, a cosmic twilight stretching across unimaginable distances of time. And tonight, beneath the fading echoes of countless stars, we begin to watch the first shadows lengthen. In the silence of deep space, time behaves differently than it does in ordinary human experience. A single evening can feel long when one is awake and waiting. A year can seem brief when remembered from a distance. Entire decades become compressed into a handful of impressions. Yet the universe measures itself in intervals that dwarf all familiar scales. The Earth is roughly 4.5 billion years old. The age feels immense, and indeed it is. Mountains have risen and disappeared. Oceans have opened and closed. Countless species have emerged and vanished. But in the story of the far future, even billions of years become merely the opening pages. Astronomers sometimes imagine standing at impossible vantage points, watching the universe not for minutes or centuries, but for epochs. From such a perspective, galaxies would slowly turn like giant wheels. Stars would ignite and fade. Cosmic structures would drift and transform. The universe would appear less like a photograph and more like weather. Slow weather, beautiful weather, the kind that unfolds with such patience that it becomes almost invisible. Perhaps existence itself is not defined by speed. Perhaps its deepest patterns reveal themselves only to those willing to imagine vast stretches of time. Over millions of years, the familiar sky above Earth changes in subtle ways. The stars we recognize tonight are temporary arrangements. The constellations that guided sailors and storytellers are not permanent drawings. They are moments, snapshots, brief alignments within a moving galaxy. If someone could return to Earth 100,000 years from now, the sky would already seem unfamiliar. The shapes would have shifted. The patterns would have loosened. The celestial landmarks of today would have drifted elsewhere. Even the stars nearest to us are travelers. Each follows its own path around the galaxy. Each moves according to gravitational influences accumulated over immense spans of time. The night sky feels stable because human memory is short. The cosmos reminds us that stability often emerges from motion too gradual to notice. Far beneath Arctic ice, ancient glaciers creep across landscapes. Their movement is nearly imperceptible. Yet over centuries, they carve valleys and reshape continents. The stars move in much the same way, slowly enough to appear still, yet steadily enough to transform everything. Elsewhere in the universe, enormous clouds of hydrogen drift through darkness. These clouds are among the quiet architects of cosmic history. They appear delicate, almost ghostly, yet they contain the raw materials from which stars are born. Within these vast nebulae, gravity performs its patient work. Tiny irregularities become concentrations. Concentrations become knots. Knots become collapsing regions of gas. Eventually, temperatures rise. Pressure increases. Fusion begins. A new star enters existence. No applause accompanies the event. No audience gathers. The birth occurs in silence. Light emerges where darkness once dominated, and a new chapter begins. For billions of years, galaxies have transformed gas into stars. This process has illuminated the cosmos. It has forged the chemical elements necessary for planets, oceans, forests, and living creatures. Every atom of oxygen in a human breath was created within ancient stars. Every calcium atom in bone, every iron atom in blood. We are connected to stellar history in ways both literal and poetic. The universe did not merely produce stars. It used stars to write the ingredients of life. And life, for a brief moment, became capable of wondering where those ingredients came from. In the darkness between galaxies, a faint glow fills all of space. It is not visible to human eyes, yet it surrounds us constantly. This glow is ancient, older than any star, older than any galaxy. It originated when the universe itself was young. Astronomers call it the cosmic microwave background. It is often described as an echo, a lingering whisper from a distant beginning. Wherever one travels, this faint radiation remains, a subtle reminder that the cosmos has a history. The universe was not always as it appears now. It changed, it expanded, it cooled, structures emerged, complexity developed. The night sky became populated with stars and galaxies, and one day, far in the future, it will become something different again. Change is not an interruption of cosmic history. Change is cosmic history. Long before the final stars fade, galaxies themselves will begin to grow quieter. Star formation depends upon available gas, and gas is not unlimited. Across countless generations, galaxies gradually consume their reservoirs. New stars continue to form, but the pace slows. The universe begins to age. Imagine an old forest at dusk. For centuries, new trees have grown. Seeds have spread. Life has flourished. Then, very gradually, conditions change. Fewer saplings emerge. The forest remains beautiful. Yet something subtle has shifted. Its period of greatest abundance has passed. Galaxies experience a similar transition. The age of stellar creation does not end suddenly. It softens, it diminishes, it becomes less frequent. The universe enters a quieter phase, and quietness, as we have seen many times, often arrives gently. Far beneath tropical oceans, coral reefs build themselves grain by grain. Tiny organisms create structures large enough to be visible from space. The process is astonishingly slow. Yet over long periods, extraordinary complexity emerges. The cosmos demonstrates a similar principle. Small actions repeated across vast durations create magnificent results. Gravity gathers matter. Stars forge elements. Planets form. Life evolves. Civilizations appear. The universe achieves grandeur not through haste, but through persistence. There is something soothing in this realization. Many of the greatest processes in existence unfold slowly. The stars do not rush. The oceans do not rush. Galaxies do not rush. Perhaps not everything valuable requires urgency. In the distant future, the night skies of surviving worlds may look profoundly different. Galaxies beyond our local cosmic neighborhood are gradually moving away. The expansion of the universe continues. Distance accumulates. Light travels faithfully. Yet, eventually, some destinations become too remote. Future observers may find themselves in a universe that appears emptier than ours. Many galaxies visible today will no longer be observable, not because they vanished, but because space itself continued stretching. Imagine standing on a shoreline while boats slowly drift beyond the horizon. One by one, they disappear from sight. The ocean remains. The boats remain. Only visibility changes. The future universe will experience a similar loneliness. Distant islands of light will fade from view. The cosmic landscape will appear increasingly isolated. And yet beauty often survives isolation. A solitary lighthouse can be beautiful. A single candle in darkness can be beautiful. A lone star may become more precious precisely because it is rare. Over billions of years, stars like our sun approach old age. The sun currently exists in a stable period of its life. Fusion proceeds steadily within its core. Its warmth supports oceans and weather and life. But even stars possess life cycles. Eventually, hydrogen supplies diminish. The balance between gravity and pressure changes. The star transforms. Its outer layers expand. Its appearance alters dramatically. Astronomers call this phase a red giant. The future sun will become enormous compared with its current size. Its light will grow different. Its influence will reshape the inner solar system. For Earth, these distant changes would be profound, yet they remain unimaginably far away. The sun still has billions of years before such transformations occur. By human standards, its future remains almost infinite. Perhaps this perspective offers comfort. Even when discussing endings, astronomy often reveals vast reserves of time. The cosmos is patient beyond measure. In the silence of abandoned observatories, old telescopes still point toward the sky. Dust gathers, metal ages, paint fades, yet the stars continue their journeys above. Human instruments come and go. Questions remain. Generation after generation, people have searched the heavens, not because they expected simple answers, but because the act of looking itself feels meaningful. There is a quiet nobility in curiosity, a willingness to face immense scales and still ask questions, a willingness to inhabit a small world while contemplating an enormous universe. The future may be vast beyond comprehension, yet every understanding begins the same way, with attention, with observation, with wonder. Elsewhere in the universe, small red stars glow with remarkable persistence. These stars, known as red dwarfs, are among the most enduring objects ever created. They consume fuel sparingly. They shine gently. They age with extraordinary slowness, while massive stars burn brightly and perish relatively quickly. Red dwarfs remain, and remain, and remain. Some may continue shining for trillions of years, long after larger stars have disappeared, long after many familiar cosmic landmarks have changed. These modest stars become guardians of the far future, quiet lanterns suspended within darkness. Their endurance carries a lesson. Brightness is not always the measure of longevity. Sometimes what lasts longest burns most gently. A small flame protected from wind may outlive a roaring fire. A patient star may outlast a brilliant one. And perhaps there is wisdom in that pattern. As cosmic history advances, the universe increasingly resembles an evening landscape. The most active eras recede behind it. The pace slows. The lights become fewer. The distances become larger. Yet the scene remains beautiful. A twilight meadow possesses beauty different from noon. A winter forest possesses beauty different from spring. A quiet universe possesses beauty different from a crowded one. Change does not necessarily diminish wonder. Sometimes it reveals new forms of it. And so the cosmos continues, drifting forward through immense rivers of time, its stars aging, its galaxies evolving, its darkness deepening, its story unfolding one patient moment after another. And somewhere within that vast unfolding, there remains a profound calm. The calm of processes too large to hurry. The calm of distances too great to cross quickly. The calm of a universe that has mastered the art of taking its time. Over trillions of years, the universe gradually leaves behind the age that astronomers sometimes call the stelliferous era, the great epoch of shining stars. For a very long time, stars remain the dominant lights of existence. Their glow spills across planets. Their gravity organizes solar systems. Their warmth sustains countless possibilities. Yet, even an era measured in trillions of years is not eternal. The cosmic inventory slowly changes. The brightest stars have long since vanished. Medium-sized stars follow. One by one, familiar sources of light complete their journeys. What remains are the patient red dwarfs. Small, steady, quiet, like lanterns left burning in an ancient house after every other room has gone dark. If one could wander through the distant future of the cosmos, the night would feel different. Not empty, not yet, but quieter. The great stellar cities of earlier ages would be fading memories. The universe would seem less crowded, more spacious, more contemplative, as though existence itself had begun speaking in a softer voice. Far beneath the ocean surface, there are places where currents move so slowly that change becomes difficult to perceive. Tiny particles drift through darkness. Minute shifts accumulate over centuries. The deep sea possesses a patience almost beyond imagination. And in many ways, the far future universe resembles those silent depths. A place where events still occur, but rarely. A place where movement continues, but slowly. A place where time stretches into vast, calm expanses. The final generations of red dwarf stars live lives unlike any stars before them. Because they burn fuel with extraordinary efficiency, they endure far beyond their larger cousins. Trillions upon trillions of years may pass while they continue shining. If planets orbit them, those planets may spend unimaginable durations beneath faint crimson skies. A sunset around such a star would feel strange to modern eyes. The light would be softer, redder, more subdued. yet perhaps beautiful in its own way. Beauty often survives transformation. It simply changes its appearance. A snow-covered forest is not less beautiful than a summer meadow. It is beautiful differently. The same may be true of the aging universe. In the silence of deep space, gravity continues its patient work. Galaxies interact. Stars occasionally pass near one another. Ancient stellar remnants drift through darkness. The future cosmos is not completely still. It simply operates according to slower rhythms. Imagine watching clouds move across the sky. Now imagine slowing the motion 1,000 times, then 1,000,000, then 1,000,000,000. Eventually, movement becomes almost impossible to detect, yet it remains real. The universe continues evolving even when its changes become difficult to witness. Patience reveals what haste cannot. Elsewhere among the fading stars, white dwarfs fill the darkness. These objects are the remnants of once luminous suns. A white dwarf no longer produces energy through fusion. Instead, it slowly releases stored heat into surrounding space. At first it glows brilliantly, but over vast periods it cools. Year after year, million after million years, billion after billion years, its light gradually diminishes, its temperature falls, its radiance softens. Imagine a campfire after midnight. The flames have disappeared. Only embers remain. The glow persists, yet it becomes fainter with each passing hour. White dwarfs resemble cosmic embers, the lingering warmth of stars that once illuminated entire systems. And like embers, they remind us that endings are often gradual, not abrupt, not violent, simply slow transitions from one state into another. Over unimaginable spans of time, galaxies themselves begin changing character. The bright spiral structures that once defined many galaxies become less prominent. Star formation dwindles. The luminous clouds from which new stars emerged become increasingly scarce. The galaxy ages. Its appearance settles. Its youthful activity gives way to quiet maturity. If galaxies could experience moods, the far future cosmos might seem contemplative. Not sad, not lonely, simply reflective, like an elderly traveler sitting beside a window and watching the evening arrive. There is wisdom in long journeys, and the universe has been traveling for a very long time. Far from any remaining stars, darkness becomes increasingly dominant. Modern humanity often associates darkness with absence, but darkness can also be a presence, a vast landscape, a setting within which subtle things become visible. In dark forests, faint moonlight gains significance. Dark oceans, tiny bioluminescent creatures become dazzling. In a dark universe, even the smallest surviving sources of light may appear extraordinary. Scarcity can transform perception. A single candle means little beneath midday sunlight, yet within complete darkness, it becomes precious. The final stars of the cosmos may possess that same quiet importance, not because they are brighter than their ancestors, but because so few remain. Over quadrillions of years, many stellar encounters occur. Stars drift through galaxies. Gravitational interactions accumulate. Some stars are ejected into intergalactic darkness. Others settle into new orbits. The cosmic landscape gradually rearranges itself. Imagine leaves floating upon a still pond. Given enough time, even gentle movements eventually alter every pattern. The future universe experiences similar reshuffling. Nothing remains exactly where it began. Everything participates in a slow dance choreographed by gravity. And yet the dance becomes increasingly sparse. Partners fewer, the music quieter, the ballroom larger. In the silence of abandoned planetary systems, worlds continue orbiting long-dead stars. Some may circle white dwarfs. Others may travel around neutron stars. Still others may wander alone through darkness after gravitational disruptions alter their paths. These rogue planets are among the most mysterious objects in the universe. Worlds without suns, worlds adrift, worlds moving through cosmic night. Imagine standing on such a planet. No sunrise, no sunset, no bright star overhead, only darkness stretching across the sky, and yet perhaps not complete darkness. Distant galaxies may still shimmer faintly. Ancient stars may punctuate the void. The universe rarely offers absolute emptiness. Even its loneliest places contain traces of light. There is something strangely moving about these wandering worlds. They remind us that journeys continue even when destinations become uncertain. Elsewhere in the aging cosmos, neutron stars endure. These remarkable remnants form when massive stars collapse. Matter becomes compressed to astonishing densities. A teaspoon of neutron star material would outweigh mountains. The laws of physics remain the same, yet they express themselves in extraordinary ways. Neutron stars rotate. They emit radiation. Some spin hundreds of times each second. Even after the stars that created them have vanished, these compact remnants persist. Tiny monuments to ancient stellar histories. Evidence that the past leaves lasting marks upon the future. The universe remembers, not consciously, not intentionally, but physically. Every structure carries traces of what came before. Over immense stretches of time, collisions occasionally occur. White dwarfs encounter one another. Neutron stars merge. Black holes meet in darkness. These events become increasingly rare. The universe grows larger. Distances increase. Opportunities for interaction diminish. Yet rarity does not mean impossibility. Even in a quiet cosmos, remarkable things still happen. A single collision may release immense energy. A brief flash may interrupt millions of years of darkness. Then silence returns, like distant thunder across a sleeping landscape. Momentary, beautiful, gone. The far future universe teaches an unusual lesson. Activity and stillness are not opposites. They coexist. An ocean may appear calm while currents move beneath the surface. A forest may seem quiet while countless organisms continue living within it. The universe may appear dormant while subtle processes persist everywhere. Stillness often contains hidden motion, and motion often hides within stillness. As the final red dwarfs continue burning, they become increasingly important. They are among the last true stars, the final chapter of stellar light. Imagine walking through an enormous city after midnight. Most windows are dark. Most streets are empty. Only a handful of lights remain. Those lights draw attention. They feel meaningful. The last stars occupy a similar role within cosmic history. Each surviving sun becomes a rare beacon, a reminder of eras long past, a memory made visible. Trillions upon trillions of years continue passing. The remaining red dwarfs age slowly. Eventually, even they approach their limits. The universe has waited patiently for this moment. The last great generation of stars cannot burn forever. Their fuel, though abundant, is finite. Their lives, though immense, are not endless. And so the future approaches another threshold. A quiet threshold, a gradual one. The point at which true starlight begins disappearing from the cosmos. Not all at once, not dramatically, but steadily. One star, then another, then another. The night becoming deeper with each passing age, the darkness widening, the silence growing. And yet, as always, there is no rush. The universe proceeds gently, like snow settling upon a winter field, like waves smoothing a shoreline, like evening slowly overtaking afternoon. Everything unfolds according to its nature. Everything follows its path. Everything changes. And beyond the final stars, farther still into the future, even stranger chapters await. A universe illuminated not by suns, but by remnants. A universe where black holes become the dominant landmarks of existence. A universe drifting ever closer to a state of profound and almost unimaginable quiet. And so, beneath the fading glow of the oldest stars, we continue onward, deeper into time, deeper into darkness, toward horizons few minds have ever truly attempted to imagine. In the silence of deep space, after the last true stars have finally faded, the universe enters a chapter unlike any that came before. For countless ages, starlight defined the cosmos. Stars illuminated planets. Stars shaped galaxies. Stars served as the great furnaces from which complexity emerged. Their glow became so familiar to cosmic history that it is difficult to imagine a universe without them. And yet, that universe eventually arrives. Not suddenly, not with a final dramatic flash. Instead, the last stars disappear one by one until their absence becomes the new reality. The darkness that follows is different from the darkness of earlier ages. It is older, deeper, more complete, like the stillness that settles over an ancient landscape long after the final travelers have gone. If one could somehow witness this era, the sky would appear almost unrecognizable. No bright constellations, no glowing stellar rivers, no crowded galactic horizons, only scattered remnants suspended within immeasurable distances. The universe would not be dead, not yet, but it would be profoundly quiet. Far beneath the surface of Earth's deepest oceans, there are regions where sunlight has never reached. Entire ecosystems exist without any memory of daylight. Life there follows different rules, different rhythms, different sources of energy. The future universe becomes similarly detached from the age of stars. it enters a new mode of existence, one shaped not by active suns, but by their remains. White dwarfs drift through darkness. Neutron stars continue their silent rotations. Black holes persist as immense gravitational anchors. These remnants become the primary inhabitants of the cosmos. The universe begins living on memories, echoes of structures that once burned brightly. Over immense spans of time, white dwarfs continue cooling. Their stored heat gradually radiates away. Temperatures decline. Brightness diminishes. The process is unimaginably slow. So slow that entire civilizations could rise and vanish millions of times before a noticeable change occurred. Yet eventually, enough time passes. The glow weakens. The ember cools. The remnant darkens. Astronomers sometimes use a poetic term for the final stage: black dwarf. Not because it explodes, not because it transforms dramatically, but because it becomes cold, dark, silent, a former star that has surrendered its remaining warmth to the universe. No black dwarfs exist today. The cosmos is not yet old enough. The universe itself remains too young. Every black dwarf belongs entirely to the future. To imagine one is to imagine a time so distant that present reality begins to feel ancient. Perhaps that is one of astronomy's most remarkable abilities. It stretches the mind beyond familiar boundaries. It encourages us to think not only about what exists now, but about what may exist after durations almost impossible to comprehend. Elsewhere among the remnants, neutron stars continue enduring. These extraordinary objects are resilient. Their dense structures allow them to persist through vast stretches of cosmic history. Many continue spinning, slowly losing energy, slowly changing. Their rotations become more gradual. Their emissions become weaker. Yet they remain, tiny islands of extreme physics within an increasingly calm universe. Imagine an old clock in a forgotten room, its mechanism still moving, its rhythm still continuing, long after everyone who once listened has disappeared. Neutron stars resemble such clocks, ancient devices keeping time within the darkness, reminders that motion can persist long after activity fades. Over quadrillions and quintillions of years, galaxies themselves become less recognizable. Gravitational interactions steadily rearrange their contents. Stars are ejected. Orbits shift. Structures dissolve. The elegant spiral forms visible today gradually disappear. The future galaxy becomes more diffuse, more scattered, less organized. Yet perhaps organization is not the only form of beauty. A snowflake is beautiful because of its symmetry. A drifting cloud is beautiful because of its freedom. The universe, too, changes aesthetic forms as it ages. Its beauty evolves. It does not vanish. In the darkness between remnants, distances continue growing. The expansion of space never entirely stops. Galaxies become increasingly isolated. Regions that once interacted drift beyond one another's reach. The observable universe shrinks from the perspective of future observers, not because space contracts, but because separation increases. Imagine standing on a shoreline as islands slowly disappear into fog. One by one they fade. Eventually, only the nearest remains visible. Then perhaps even that is gone. The ocean itself has not changed. Only access has changed. The future universe experiences a similar withdrawal. The cosmic horizon grows lonelier. The visible realm becomes smaller. The unknown grows larger. And yet, there is something strangely peaceful about horizons. They remind us that reality extends beyond what can be seen. Far from any remaining sources of light, black holes become the dominant structures of existence. They are among the most enduring objects ever created, formed from collapsing stars or from the growth of galactic centers. Black holes possess extraordinary longevity. Their gravity shapes surrounding space. Their presence influences everything nearby. To earlier civilizations, black holes may have seemed mysterious and intimidating. Yet, in the far future, they become familiar landmarks, ancient mountains within the cosmic landscape, stable, persistent, patient. A black hole is often imagined as a destroyer, but it is also a keeper of history. Matter falls inward, energy accumulates. The remnants of countless ancient stars contribute to its growth. Within these dark objects resides an archive of cosmic evolution, not an archive that can be easily read, not one organized into neat records, but an archive nonetheless. The universe stores traces of its past in many forms, and black holes become some of its longest-lasting memories. Over unimaginable durations, black holes continue existing while almost everything else changes around them. Entire stellar populations disappear, galactic structures fade, yet the black holes remain, like enormous stones resting within a slowly drying riverbed. The water recedes, the landscape alters, the stones endure. Their persistence becomes almost comforting, proof that not everything vanishes at the same pace. In the silence of abandoned planetary systems, darkness deepens further. Worlds orbit cold remnants. Frozen landscapes stretch beneath starless skies. Mountains remain. Craters remain. Ancient geological features endure. Many planets become monuments, not to life, not necessarily to civilizations, but to time itself. A mountain range that survives for trillions of years acquires a certain dignity, a quiet endurance, the ability to witness ages beyond imagination. Perhaps endurance possesses its own form of beauty, not dramatic beauty, not brilliant beauty, but gentle beauty, the beauty of persistence. Elsewhere in the aging cosmos, rare encounters still occur. Objects collide, orbits intersect. Gravity occasionally gathers remnants together. A white dwarf may encounter another. Neutron stars may merge. Black holes may slowly spiral toward one another. These events become extraordinarily uncommon, yet rarity often increases significance. Flower blooming in a desert attracts attention precisely because it is uncommon. A distant light within darkness becomes precious because it is rare. The future universe values rarity. Its events become infrequent treasures scattered across immense durations. Between those events lies silence, vast stretches of silence, not empty silence, not meaningless silence, simply spaciousness. room for existence to breathe, room for time to unfold without urgency. Modern life often moves quickly. Minutes matter, schedules matter, deadlines matter. The far future universe operates according to entirely different principles. Nothing rushes, nothing competes, nothing hurries toward completion. Cosmic history becomes increasingly meditative, an endless sequence of patient moments, one after another, after another, after another, over spans so vast that numbers lose much of their usefulness. Imagine a forest after snowfall, every sound softened, every movement slowed, every branch carrying quiet weight. The future cosmos possesses a similar atmosphere, a sense of stillness layered upon stillness, a deepening calm, a gradual settling. The universe is not approaching a dramatic finale. It is approaching equilibrium, a state toward which countless processes have been moving since the beginning. And among all the remnants that remain, the black holes continue waiting, patient beyond measure, older than civilizations, older than stars, older than almost everything around them. Yet even these ancient giants do not last forever. For hidden within the laws of physics lies one of the strangest discoveries ever made. A discovery suggesting that black holes, despite their immense power and longevity, are not truly eternal. They too possess a future. They too possess an ending so distant that the lifespan of stars seems brief by comparison. An ending measured not in billions or trillions of years, but in numbers so vast they challenge language itself. And so, as the universe grows darker and quieter, another chapter begins to emerge. A chapter centered on the slow fading of the darkest objects in existence. A chapter in which even black holes eventually surrender to time. And beneath a sky now almost entirely devoid of starlight, we drift onward, further into the future, further into the silence, toward the longest twilight the cosmos will ever know. In the silence of deep space, where stars have long since vanished and galaxies have become sparse collections of ancient remnants, the black holes remain. They are now among the oldest structures in existence. The great engines of stellar history have gone quiet. The brilliant furnaces that once illuminated the cosmos have faded. Even many of the remnants left behind by those stars have cooled into darkness. Yet the black holes endure, patient, still, almost timeless. If one could somehow wander through this distant age, the universe might resemble an enormous abandoned cathedral. The lights extinguished, the voices gone, only vast architecture remaining. The black holes would be like the final pillars supporting that ancient structure. Silent monuments standing within endless darkness. For a long time, scientists believed black holes might last forever. The idea seemed reasonable. After all, nothing appeared capable of escaping them. Their gravity was overwhelming. Their boundaries seemed absolute. Matter could enter. Nothing could leave. At least that was the understanding. But nature often hides surprising details beneath apparently simple surfaces. And in the 20th century, physicists began uncovering one of the strangest truths in all of science. A black hole is not completely black, not entirely, not forever. The discovery emerged from attempts to unite two of humanity's greatest theories, the physics of gravity and the physics of the quantum world. One describes galaxies and stars. The other describes particles and probabilities. Both are remarkably successful, yet bringing them together has never been simple. It was within that difficult intersection that a remarkable idea appeared. A black hole can slowly lose energy, not quickly, not dramatically, but gradually, like mist evaporating from a still lake at dawn. The process is now known as Hawking radiation, and it changes the future of the universe completely. Imagine standing beside a quiet pond on a cool morning. The water appears calm, permanent, unchanging. Yet tiny molecules continuously leave its surface. The pond slowly diminishes, not enough to notice immediately, not enough to notice tomorrow, but enough to matter over long periods. Black holes behave in a somewhat similar way, except their evaporation unfolds across timescales so enormous that ordinary imagination struggles to follow. A black hole containing the mass of a star may require vastly longer than the current age of the universe to disappear. The giant black holes occupying galactic centers survive even longer, far longer, durations measured in numbers containing dozens of digits. Numbers so large they begin to resemble landscapes rather than quantities. And yet, even those numbers are finite. Even the longest story eventually reaches its final page. Elsewhere in the darkness, ancient black holes continue their patient decline. The process is extraordinarily slow at first, so slow that millions upon millions of years pass without meaningful change. Then billions, then trillions, then quadrillions. Still they remain. The universe itself transforms around them. Entire eras begin and end. The black holes continue. If patience had a physical form, it might look something like this. A black hole waiting through ages longer than any civilization could ever imagine. A mountain enduring while oceans come and go. A clock ticking once every unimaginable interval. Time takes on a different texture in such environments. The distinction between permanence and impermanence begins to blur. What lasts for 100 trillion years feels eternal, yet it is not. The universe quietly reminds us that longevity and eternity remain different things. Far beneath the Antarctic ice, bubbles of ancient air remain trapped within glaciers. Some have existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Tiny messages from vanished climates, frozen memories preserved within crystal layers. The future universe contains similar archives, not in ice, but in structure. Black holes become repositories of ancient history. They contain traces of stars that disappeared countless ages ago, evidence of galaxies that no longer resemble their former selves, memories embedded within gravity. The cosmos carries its past forward in subtle ways. Nothing is completely forgotten. Not immediately. Not entirely. Future is built from accumulated layers of former realities. As unimaginable ages continue passing, the evaporation of black holes slowly accelerates. This is one of the strangest aspects of the process. The smaller a black hole becomes, the faster it loses energy. For most of its existence, change is nearly imperceptible. Then, near the very end, the pace increases. The final moments arrive after an eternity of waiting. Imagine an ancient candle burning within a vast, empty hall. For years, the flame remains steady. The wax diminishes slowly, almost invisibly. Then, as the final portion remains, changes occur more rapidly. The ending arrives not because something external intervenes, but because the process finally reaches completion. Black holes experience a similar conclusion. After durations beyond comprehension, they radiate away their remaining energy. Their immense histories come to an end. Their existence dissolves into the surrounding universe. Even the darkest objects eventually release their final whispers. In the silence of this era, black hole evaporation becomes one of the few significant events still occurring. The cosmos has become sparse, quiet, extremely old. The fireworks of stellar birth belong to distant memory. Galactic collisions have largely ceased. New structures emerge only rarely. Most of reality consists of darkness, distance, and the lingering remnants of former ages. Yet, there remains a certain beauty in simplicity. A winter landscape can be beautiful because it contains fewer distractions. An empty beach at dawn can feel more peaceful than a crowded shoreline. The aging universe acquires a similar elegance. Its complexity softens, its activity decreases, its stillness deepens, and within that stillness, subtle processes become easier to appreciate. Over spans so vast that language begins to fail, one black hole after another reaches its conclusion. The smaller ones disappear first. The larger ones persist. The giant black holes, once residing in galactic centers, become the final titans. Their masses are enormous. Their lifespans almost inconceivable. Many survive long after every other familiar cosmic structure has vanished. Imagine ancient trees standing alone in a desert after an entire forest has disappeared. That image captures only a tiny fraction of the solitude these final black holes would experience. The universe around them has become astonishingly empty. Distances dominate everything. Darkness fills nearly every horizon. Yet the giants remain, holding on, continuing, waiting. Eventually, even they begin approaching their final chapters. Their evaporation slowly increases. Their masses decline. The long descent continues. And one by one, the last great black holes surrender their stored energy to space. Afterward, something remarkable happens. The universe enters an even quieter state, a state beyond stars, beyond galaxies, beyond black holes, a state where many of the structures that once defined cosmic history no longer exist. Imagine standing within a museum after every exhibit has been removed. The building remains, the space remains, but the objects that once filled it are gone. The future cosmos begins to resemble such a place, not destroyed, not shattered, simply emptied. The great actors have left the stage. Only the theater remains. Far beyond the reach of ordinary imagination, particles continue drifting through darkness. Radiation moves through expanding space. Tiny traces of energy remain. The universe has not disappeared. Existence continues, but its character has changed profoundly. The energetic cosmos of youth has become a calm and nearly silent elder. A vast ocean after the storm has passed. A forest after autumn leaves have fallen. A sky after sunset has faded into night. The journey toward equilibrium continues. The differences in temperature become smaller. The opportunities for change become rarer. The cosmos gradually approaches a condition physicists call maximum entropy, a state in which energy is spread so evenly that little remains capable of happening. Not because laws cease operating, not because reality ends, but because useful differences have largely vanished. The rivers of energy that once powered stars and worlds have become calm. The slopes have flattened. The currents have weakened. The universe settles. And as it settles, a profound quiet emerges. A quiet unlike anything that existed before. Not the quiet of an empty room. Not the quiet of a sleeping forest. But the quiet of a cosmos that has spent unimaginable ages gradually exhausting its possibilities. Yet even here, there is something unexpectedly gentle. The story has never truly been about catastrophe. It has always been about transformation. The stars transformed, galaxies transformed, black holes transformed, the universe itself transformed. Change remained the one constant companion. And perhaps that is why the far future feels strangely peaceful. Nothing is being punished. Nothing is failing. Reality is simply continuing its long journey through time, following the laws that shaped it from the beginning, following them patiently, following them faithfully. Like a river eventually reaching the sea. And beyond the fading echoes of the final black holes, another horizon begins to appear. The horizon of heat, death itself, the deepest future, the quietest future, the ultimate resting state toward which the cosmos has been slowly drifting for longer than any mind can truly comprehend. And so we continue onward, deeper still, into the oldest darkness, toward the final calm of the universe. In the silence of deep space, beyond the age of stars, beyond the age of galaxies, and beyond even the age of black holes, the universe approaches its most distant horizon. This horizon has many names. Some scientists call it thermal equilibrium. Others describe it as maximum entropy. More commonly, it is known as heat death. The phrase can sound unsettling when first encountered. It seems to imply destruction, an ending, a final collapse, yet the reality is quieter than the name suggests. Heat death is not an explosion, not a catastrophe, not a sudden event sweeping across creation. It is the gradual settling of the cosmos, the slow evening of existence, the universe gently approaching balance. To understand this distant future, it helps to imagine something familiar. Picture a cup of hot tea resting on a table late at night. At first, the tea is warmer than the room around it. Heat flows outward. Energy spreads. Minute by minute, the temperature difference becomes smaller. Eventually, the tea and the surrounding air reach the same temperature. Nothing dramatic occurs. The process simply finishes. The difference disappears. The flow stops. The system settles into equilibrium. Now imagine the same principle applied not to a cup of tea, but to the entire universe. Every star, every planet, every particle, every photon, every remaining trace of energy. Over unimaginable durations, differences diminish. Temperatures become more uniform. Gradients fade. The opportunities for transformation grow increasingly rare. The cosmos drifts toward balance. A balance so complete that almost nothing remains capable of change. Far beneath the ocean's surface, there are places where currents become almost motionless. The water rests in remarkable stillness. Movement has not ceased entirely. Individual molecules continue dancing. Tiny fluctuations remain, yet the larger motions are gone. The future universe may resemble such a sea, not frozen, not inactive, but extraordinarily calm. A place where significant events have become vanishingly uncommon. The great engines of cosmic evolution have fallen silent, and still time continues. One of the strangest aspects of contemplating heat death is the scale involved. The future stretches so far beyond ordinary imagination that language begins to lose precision. Human history occupies only a tiny fraction of a second compared with these durations. The rise and fall of civilizations, the building of cities, the writing of books, the launching of spacecraft, all of it occurs near the very beginning of the cosmic timeline. We live astonishingly early in the story. If the universe were represented as a single year, humanity would appear almost immediately after midnight on the first day. The distant future would occupy nearly the entire calendar. This realization can feel humbling, but it can also feel comforting. Our lives are brief, yet we exist during one of the most active and luminous chapters the universe will ever experience. We live among stars. We live while galaxies still shine. We live while complexity flourishes. We inhabit a remarkably vibrant age. Elsewhere in the deep future, the remaining particles drift through expanding space. Distances continue growing. The universe becomes colder, not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily, like a winter landscape slowly surrendering its final traces of autumn warmth. The cooling proceeds patiently, relentlessly, beautifully. There is no urgency. The cosmos has all the time it could possibly need. Imagine walking through an ancient observatory, abandoned for millions of years. Dust covers every surface. The instruments no longer move. The domes remain open to a silent sky. Moonlight spills across forgotten floors. The building has become a monument to curiosity. The future universe evokes a similar feeling, not sadness, not despair, a kind of quiet remembrance, a sense that many remarkable things once happened here. And indeed they did. Stars once blazed, planets once circled them. Life may have emerged countless times. Questions were asked, dreams were imagined, stories were told. All of it became part of cosmic history. The future carries those histories forward, even when their traces become difficult to find. In the silence of deep space, memory takes unusual forms. A fossil preserves memory within stone. A glacier preserves memory within ice. The universe preserves memory within structure, within particle distributions, within radiation, within the subtle arrangement of matter itself. Nothing remains unchanged forever. Yet the past leaves fingerprints, tiny signatures, delicate echoes. Reality remembers in its own way. Perhaps that is true of human existence as well. Lives end, moments pass, yet influences continue outward. Actions ripple through generations. Ideas survive. Kindness survives. Knowledge survives. The future is never entirely separate from the past. It is built from it. Over spans of time beyond comprehension, the universe grows increasingly sparse. The darkness deepens further. The distances widen. The average particle may travel extraordinary durations without encountering anything substantial. The cosmos becomes a realm of immense solitude, and yet solitude is not necessarily loneliness. A mountain standing alone beneath starlight is not lonely. An island surrounded by ocean is not lonely. They simply exist within spacious environments. The far future universe possesses that same spaciousness, an almost boundless openness, a vastness difficult to describe. There is something peaceful about such openness. No crowding, no urgency, only room, infinite room, for time, for silence, for existence itself. Far beneath winter snow, seeds sometimes remain dormant for years, waiting, not dead, not active, simply resting. The future universe acquires a similar quality. Many possibilities remain embedded within the laws of physics, yet circumstances rarely allow those possibilities to unfold. Potential exists. Action becomes rare. The cosmos enters a state of profound patience, a patience deeper than any ocean, older than any mountain, wider than any galaxy that ever existed. As equilibrium approaches, temperature differences continue diminishing, and temperature differences are important. They power change. They allow work to occur. They create motion and structure and complexity. A waterfall flows because there is a difference in height. Wind blows because there is a difference in pressure. Stars shine because there are differences within their interiors. The universe itself evolved because differences existed. Heat death represents the fading of those differences, the flattening of the landscape, the smoothing of the waves, the settling of the dust, not destruction, completion. Imagine a vast lake after a storm. At first the surface churns, waves crash, ripples spread in every direction. Hours pass, the wind weakens, the waves diminish, the water becomes smooth. The storm is not defeated, the lake is not broken, the energy has simply dispersed. The system has settled. Heat death resembles that settling. The universe becoming calm, perhaps calmer than anything we can presently imagine. In the darkness of this distant age, there may be no observers, no astronomers, no living creatures, no eyes turned toward the sky. The cosmos may continue entirely alone, and yet the absence of observers does not diminish its grandeur. Mountains remain majestic, whether anyone sees them or not. Oceans remain beautiful beneath empty skies. The universe possesses intrinsic beauty, beauty independent of witnesses, beauty woven into structure itself. The stars did not become beautiful because humanity noticed them. Humanity noticed them because they were beautiful. And even in its oldest future, the cosmos retains that quiet elegance. Austere, minimal, ancient, yet elegant. The story of heat-death is often interpreted as a story about endings, but perhaps it can also be understood as a story about completeness. The universe begins in extraordinary simplicity. Complexity emerges. Stars ignite. Galaxies form. Life appears. Questions are asked. Civilizations rise. Then slowly the process unwinds. Complexity softens. Activity decreases. Structure relaxes. The cosmos returns toward simplicity once more, a circle of sorts, not a perfect circle, but a gentle arc, a journey from simplicity through complexity and back again. And throughout that journey, one thing remains constant: change. The universe never stops changing, even when change becomes slow, even when it becomes subtle, even when it becomes almost impossible to perceive. Change continues. Perhaps that is one of the deepest lessons hidden within cosmic history. Nothing remains exactly as it is. Not stars, not galaxies, not civilizations, not even the universe itself. Everything flows, everything transforms, everything moves through time, like clouds crossing a sky, like waves crossing an ocean, like seasons crossing a landscape. And there is a strange comfort in that, because change is not an exception. It is the natural rhythm of reality. As we drift farther into the oldest future imaginable, the universe becomes quieter than words can easily describe. A darkness older than memory, a stillness older than stars, a calm older than galaxies. The final twilight stretches across eternity, and the cosmos, having spent unimaginable ages creating light, structure, and wonder, gradually settles into rest, not with fear, not with violence, but with extraordinary gentleness, like evening settling over a sleeping world, like snow falling across an empty field, like the final ripple disappearing from a silent lake. And in that immense stillness, the universe continues, older, colder, quieter, yet still existing, still carrying the echoes of everything that came before, still bearing the memory of stars, still holding the faint traces of ancient light, still unfolding one immeasurably patient moment at a time. In the silence of deep space, after the last stars have faded and the final black holes have released their remaining energy into the darkness, there remains something that is surprisingly difficult to describe. Not because it is complicated, but because it is so simple. The future universe becomes a place largely emptied of events, a place where change still occurs, yet so slowly and so subtly that even the word change begins to feel too dramatic. Imagine standing beside an immense desert under moonlight. No wind, no voices, no footsteps. The dunes stretch to every horizon. Nothing appears to move, and yet, grain by grain, the landscape continues evolving. The future cosmos acquires a similar character. Stillness dominates, but stillness is never quite absolute. The laws of physics continue their quiet work. Particles continue existing. Space continues expanding. Time continues flowing. Reality continues being itself. Over unimaginable durations, the temperature of the universe approaches ever closer to uniformity. The remaining energy becomes distributed more evenly. Differences diminish. Opportunities diminish. The great asymmetries that once fueled cosmic creativity become increasingly rare. In earlier ages, a single star represented a tremendous imbalance, a concentrated source of energy surrounded by colder space. That imbalance allowed light to travel, allowed planets to warm, allowed chemistry to flourish, allowed life to emerge. Now, in the deepest future, such concentrations have vanished. The landscape has become smooth, like an ocean whose waves have long since settled, like a forest after every leaf has fallen, like a bell whose final vibrations faded ages ago. Yet there is a peculiar beauty in smoothness, the beauty of completion, the beauty of rest. Far beneath ancient caves, water sometimes drips from stone ceilings at astonishingly slow rates. One drop, then another. Minutes later, another. Centuries pass. Minerals accumulate. Delicate formations emerge. The cave changes so slowly that generations may never notice. And yet change is occurring. The deepest future of the universe possesses a similar rhythm. Not dramatic events, not grand transformations, only subtle processes unfolding across impossible spans of time. The cosmos becomes a master of patience. In the modern world, patience often feels difficult. Days feel short. Schedules feel crowded. The clock seems always moving too quickly. Yet the universe teaches another perspective. It demonstrates scales on which urgency becomes meaningless, scales on which millions of years resemble moments, scales on which entire civilizations appear and disappear like brief flickers. When viewed from the perspective of cosmic history, even anxiety begins to seem smaller, not unimportant, simply temporary, a passing weather pattern within a much larger sky. Perhaps this is one reason people have always looked upward. The stars remind us that our troubles exist within a wider context, and the future universe extends that lesson even further. Elsewhere in the darkness, the remaining particles continue their endless journeys. Photons travel through expanding space. Neutrinos drift almost undisturbed. Tiny quantum fluctuations occur. The universe is not truly motionless. Motion simply becomes sparse, subtle, quiet. Imagine snowflakes descending through a windless night. Their movement is gentle enough to seem almost still, yet each continues falling. The deepest future resembles that snowfall, a vast choreography of nearly imperceptible motion, a dance performed so slowly that it appears frozen. The concept of heat death sometimes inspires melancholy. The image of a dark universe can feel lonely at first glance, yet loneliness is often connected to absence, and the future cosmos is not absent. It is present, profoundly present, filled with space, filled with history, filled with the accumulated consequences of everything that came before. The stars are gone, but their influence remains. The galaxies have faded, but their histories remain. The universe carries its past forward like rings inside an ancient tree, invisible to casual observation, yet embedded within its very structure. Nothing emerges from nothing. Everything comes from somewhere. Every future contains traces of every past, over stretches of time so vast they defy ordinary language. The cosmos continues expanding. This expansion has shaped the universe for most of its history. It separates galaxies. It enlarges distances. It alters the visible horizon. And in the deepest future, it continues. The darkness grows larger. The separations become greater. Space itself stretches outward. Imagine watching a shoreline recede while standing aboard a slowly departing ship. The land does not disappear suddenly. It diminishes gradually. The horizon widens. Distance accumulates. Eventually, only ocean remains visible. The future universe experiences a similar widening. The horizon becomes increasingly empty. Yet emptiness is not always something to fear. An empty beach can be peaceful. An empty sky can be calming. An empty room can offer rest. The vast openness of the future cosmos carries a certain tranquility, a freedom from clutter, a freedom from noise, a freedom from urgency. In the darkness of this ancient era, one might begin wondering about meaning. If stars fade and galaxies dissolve, does anything matter? It is a question humans have asked in many forms, a question whispered beneath night skies, a question carried through philosophy, science, and poetry alike. The universe itself offers no spoken answer, but perhaps its history suggests one. Meaning may not depend upon permanence. A flower does not become meaningless because it blooms briefly. A sunset does not become meaningless because it ends. Music does not become meaningless because the final note eventually arrives. Some things possess value precisely because they are temporary. Perhaps existence is similar. The stars mattered while they shone. Life matters while it lives. Wonder matters while it is experienced. Impermanence does not erase significance. It often creates it. Far beneath forest floors, fallen leaves decompose and nourish future growth. The leaf disappears. Its influence remains. The same pattern appears throughout nature. Nothing lasts forever. Yet nothing is entirely lost. Everything contributes to what follows. The universe is a continuous exchange, a transformation, a conversation between past and future. Even heat death represents part of that conversation, not an interruption, not a failure, a chapter, a destination toward which countless processes naturally lead. And destinations, even quiet ones, have their own kind of beauty. As the ages continue passing, the distinction between moments becomes increasingly difficult to define. What is a year in such a universe? What is a millennium? What is a billion years? The scales become so enormous that familiar measurements lose their emotional meaning. Time remains, but human intuition cannot easily accompany it. This realization is humbling and strangely soothing. There are aspects of reality larger than understanding, not because intelligence fails, but because the universe exceeds every framework we create. The ocean exceeds a single wave. The sky exceeds a single cloud. The cosmos exceeds every individual mind. And that is perfectly acceptable. Not every mystery must be solved to be appreciated. Some mysteries simply invite contemplation. The future universe may be the greatest mystery of all, not because we know nothing about it, but because we can know enough to glimpse its outline while never fully experiencing its reality. We stand near the beginning of the story, imagining the final pages. And those final pages are written in extraordinary quiet. No crowds, no celebrations, no dramatic conclusions, only darkness, distance, time, and a universe gradually settling into equilibrium. Imagine the final embers of a fire after a long evening. The flames vanished hours ago. The warmth is nearly gone. Only a faint glow remains among the ashes. Then even that glow disappears. The night continues. The forest remains. The stars overhead remain. Nothing has ended completely. The scene has simply changed. Heat death resembles that moment. Not annihilation, not oblivion, a transition into profound stillness, the longest exhalation in cosmic history. And perhaps, if one could somehow witness that unimaginable future, there would be something unexpectedly peaceful about it. The universe would no longer be striving, no longer building stars, no longer sculpting galaxies, no longer racing through eras of creation. It would simply be existing quietly within its own vastness, a calm so complete that even silence would seem loud by comparison. And there, within that immeasurable stillness, the story of the cosmos would continue in its gentlest form, not with brilliance, not with spectacle, but with patience, the same patience that guided the birth of stars, the same patience that shaped galaxies, the same patience that carried reality across unthinkable oceans of time, a patience without end, a patience as wide as existence itself. And so we drift onward, through darkness, through distance, through the fading echoes of creation, toward the deepest calm the universe will ever know, a calm that arrives not as an ending, but as a quiet and ancient rest. In the silence of deep space, where even the memory of starlight has become ancient, it is worth pausing our journey through the future and gently turning our attention backward. Not all the way back to the beginning, not yet, but back toward the ages when the universe was young enough for galaxies to bloom like wildflowers across darkness. Because one of the most remarkable things about the end of the universe is that it cannot be understood without first appreciating how much life, motion, and beauty came before it. The future becomes meaningful because of the past. The silence becomes meaningful because there was once music. The darkness becomes meaningful because there was once light. Imagine standing within an ancient forest. The trees tower overhead. Moss blankets fallen logs. Birdsong echoes through distant branches. Sunlight filters through leaves in shifting patterns. everything feels alive. Now imagine returning millions of years later. The forest is gone. The trees have become stone. The landscape is transformed. And yet the quietness of that later scene carries a certain depth because one knows what once existed there. The future universe is similar. Its stillness contains history. Its darkness contains memory. Its calm contains the echoes of countless vanished lights. Long before the final black holes evaporate, long before heat death approaches, the universe spends an extraordinary amount of time creating stars, creating planets, creating elements, creating complexity. For billions upon billions of years, galaxies function like immense gardens. Hydrogen drifts through space. Gravity gathers it. Stars ignite. New structures emerge. The process repeats, generation after generation, like waves arriving on a shore, like seasons returning to a forest. The cosmos becomes a place of continuous renewal, and renewal leaves behind remarkable treasures. Every atom heavier than hydrogen carries a story. Carbon, oxygen, silicon, iron, gold, all were forged within stars or stellar explosions. The calcium in bones, the iron in blood, the oxygen carried with every breath. These materials are ancient gifts from long-dead suns. Human beings are not merely observers of the universe. We are participants in its chemical history. We are made of cosmic memories. Far beneath the surface of Earth's oceans, hydrothermal vents release heat into cold darkness. Around these vents, ecosystems flourish. Life finds opportunities in unlikely places. The universe demonstrates a similar principle. Wherever conditions allow complexity to emerge, complexity often does emerge. Not everywhere, not always, but often enough to make existence feel astonishing. Planets form around stars. Molecules assemble. Chemistry explores possibilities. The cosmos experiments patiently. Most experiments lead nowhere. A few lead somewhere extraordinary. And somewhere among those possibilities, conscious beings arise. Creatures capable of looking upward. Creatures capable of asking questions. Creatures capable of imagining futures trillions of years beyond their own lives. There is something deeply moving about that. The universe produced stars. Stars produced elements. Elements produced worlds. Worlds produced life. And life produced curiosity. A chain of events stretching across billions of years. A chain that ultimately allows the cosmos to contemplate itself. Elsewhere in the vast darkness, planets drift through their orbits. Many are beautiful beyond anything humanity has yet witnessed. Some may possess oceans beneath ice-covered surfaces. Some may have skies glowing red beneath dim stars. Others may be barren deserts swept by endless winds. The universe is likely filled with landscapes stranger and more magnificent than any dream. Mountain ranges taller than Everest, storms larger than planets, frozen oceans extending to distant horizons, clouds made not of water, but of exotic substances unimaginable on Earth. The cosmos is generous with variety, even if much of it remains unseen. Perhaps beauty does not require observation to exist. Perhaps beauty is simply a natural consequence of physical laws interacting across time. The rings of a planet, the spiral arm of a galaxy, the symmetry of a snowflake, the shape of a wave, all emerge without intention, yet all inspire wonder. The future universe may become quiet, but it can never erase the beauty that once existed. That beauty becomes part of history, and history remains woven into reality itself. The silence of deep space, one of the most profound realizations astronomy offers, is that everything we know occupies a very small region of an unimaginably large story. Human civilization spans only thousands of years. Recorded history occupies an even smaller interval. The lifetime of a single person is smaller still. Yet within that brief window, entire universes of experience unfold. Friendships, journeys, discoveries, dreams, moments beneath night skies, moments beside oceans, moments spent wondering about distant stars. Scale does not diminish meaning. A song lasting 3 minutes can be beautiful. A flower blooming for a week can be beautiful. A human life lasting decades can be beautiful. Duration and significance are not the same thing. The universe teaches this lesson repeatedly. The brightest stars often live the shortest lives. The longest-lived stars shine most gently. Some things endure. Some things blaze. Both have value. Over billions of years, countless sunsets occur across countless worlds. Imagine them. A red dwarf sinking below distant mountains. Twin suns disappearing beyond alien oceans. Clouds glowing amber and violet. Ice fields reflecting fading light. The universe may contain more sunsets than any mind could ever count. And each one is unique. A fleeting arrangement of light and atmosphere. A moment never to be repeated exactly. Impermanence creates individuality. Because things change, each moment becomes irreplaceable. Perhaps that is why the future universe feels less tragic than it first appears. The fading of stars does not erase the fact that they once shone. The end of a story does not erase the story. The final page cannot remove everything written before it. The universe carries its history forward. Every era contributes to the whole. Far beneath ancient glaciers, layers of snow accumulate year after year. Each layer preserves information about a different season, a different climate, a different time. Similarly, cosmic history accumulates layer upon layer. The early universe leaves traces in radiation. Stars leave traces in chemistry. Galaxies leave traces in structure. The past never disappears completely. It becomes embedded within what follows. The future is built from memory, not conscious memory, physical memory, the memory contained within matter and energy themselves. As we drift through the deepest reaches of time, it becomes easier to appreciate how extraordinary the present truly is. Right now, stars shine. Right now, galaxies remain visible. Right now, planets orbit warm suns. Right now, questions can be asked. Right now, curiosity exists. The universe will spend vastly more time in darkness than in light. Yet, we happen to live during one of the luminous chapters. a chapter rich with complexity, rich with possibility, rich with wonder. This realization need not create urgency. Instead, it can create appreciation, a quiet gratitude, the same feeling one experiences while watching moonlight shimmer across water, or listening to rain against a distant roof, or observing clouds drift across an evening sky. Simple awareness, simple presence, simple wonder. In the silence of deep space, the future remains unimaginably vast. Heat death still waits beyond horizons so distant they challenge comprehension. The stars will continue aging. The galaxies will continue evolving. The darkness will continue deepening. And yet, the story of the universe is not defined solely by its ending. It is defined by everything that happens along the way. Every star that shines, every planet that forms, every atom that travels through cosmic history, every fleeting moment of consciousness, every question ever asked beneath a night sky. The journey matters, the process matters, the unfolding itself matters. A river is not meaningful only when it reaches the sea. It is meaningful throughout its course. The mountains it passes, the forests it nourishes, the reflections it carries. The same is true of the cosmos. Its destination is fascinating, but its journey is extraordinary. And perhaps that is the deepest comfort hidden within the story of the end of the universe. The future may be quiet. The future may be dark. The future may be unimaginably old. But before that future arrives, the cosmos spends ages creating beauty, creating structure, creating possibility, creating moments. And among those moments is this one. A small moment, a brief moment, a moment occurring on a tiny world orbiting an ordinary star. Yet a moment in which the universe has become aware enough to imagine its own distant future. A moment in which consciousness looks across billions of years and whispers softly into the darkness. A moment of wonder. And wonder, however brief, is one of the most remarkable things the universe has ever produced. In the silence of deep space, there is another way to think about the end of the universe, not as a destination, not as a final chapter, but as a landscape, a place so distant in time that it becomes almost geographical, a territory of immense darkness stretching beyond every familiar horizon. When we imagine the future, we often imagine events. A star exploding, a planet forming, a galaxy colliding with another. But the deepest future is less about events and more about atmosphere. The atmosphere of a universe that has grown old, very old, older than any mountain, older than any ocean, older than any galaxy visible in the modern night sky. An elder universe, a universe that has spent incomprehensible ages slowly changing. Imagine entering an ancient library long after its builders have vanished. The shelves remain, the architecture remains, the quiet remains. Dust drifts through shafts of pale light. Nothing is hurried. Nothing demands attention. The building seems to exist outside ordinary time. The far future cosmos carries a similar feeling, a sense of extraordinary age, a sense that countless stories have already unfolded, a sense that reality itself has settled into contemplation. Far beneath the surface of calm lakes, sediments accumulate grain by grain. A single layer means very little. Thousands of layers create history. Millions create geology. The universe ages in much the same way. Moments accumulate. Years accumulate. Epochs accumulate. Until reality itself becomes layered with unimaginable depth. The stars we see tonight belong to one thin layer. The galaxies belong to another. The future heat-death of the cosmos belongs to a layer so distant that it almost seems detached from the present. And yet, all of those layers are connected, each emerging naturally from the one before. One moment flowing into the next, like water moving through a river valley. Elsewhere in the universe, there may once have been worlds unlike anything humanity has ever imagined. Planets orbiting stars that no longer exist. Oceans that evaporated billions of years ago. Mountain ranges that weathered away before Earth even formed. Civilizations, perhaps, that rose and vanished beneath skies entirely different from ours. We do not know. The universe guards many of its secrets carefully, but contemplating the far future encourages a certain humility. The cosmos is larger than any single story, larger than any single species, larger than any single world. Its history may contain chapters forever beyond our reach, and there is something peaceful in accepting that. Not every mystery must become known. Some mysteries simply accompany us, like distant islands glimpsed through fog, visible enough to inspire curiosity, distant enough to preserve wonder. In the darkness between galaxies, silence often seems like the defining characteristic of space. Yet true silence is rare. Even the emptiest regions contain faint traces of radiation. Subtle fluctuations, whispers of ancient events. The universe never becomes completely still. Instead, it approaches stillness, forever nearing perfect quiet without entirely reaching it. This is one of the fascinating qualities of nature. Perfection often remains just beyond reach, a horizon rather than a destination. The future universe approaches equilibrium, approaches uniformity, approaches stillness, but the approach itself becomes part of the story, like twilight gradually becoming night. The transformation matters as much as the destination. Far above Earth tonight, starlight is crossing enormous distances. Some of the photons entering human eyes began their journeys before modern civilization existed. Others departed their stars before entire nations were founded. Light carries history through space. Every night sky is partly an archive, a collection of messages from different moments in time. Astronomy is unique in this way. To look outward is also to look backward. The universe reveals its past because light requires time to travel. And when we imagine the future, we reverse that perspective. We look forward, forward through ages, forward through darkness, forward through transformations so gradual they resemble dreams. The future becomes a mirror held opposite the past, each helping illuminate the other. Over trillions upon trillions of years, the cosmos slowly sheds complexity. Stars disappear, galaxies fade, structures dissolve. Yet there is something elegant about simplification. A tree in winter possesses a beauty different from a tree in summer. Its leaves are gone, its branches are exposed, its structure becomes visible. The future universe experiences a similar unveiling. As complexity recedes, the fundamental architecture of reality becomes more apparent. Space, time, energy. The basic ingredients remain. The decorations gradually fade. Perhaps simplicity is not the opposite of beauty. Perhaps it is merely another expression of it. In the silence of deep space, it is tempting to think of the universe as indifferent. After all, stars do not possess emotions. Galaxies do not make plans. Black holes do not dream. The cosmos follows physical laws without preference. Yet human beings experience that reality through consciousness, and consciousness brings meaning. The stars themselves are neither hopeful nor melancholy, but the act of contemplating them can evoke both feelings. The future universe is not sad. It simply is. What we feel when imagining it emerges from our own perspectives, and those feelings can be surprisingly gentle, because the story of cosmic endings is also a story about continuity. The atoms of ancient stars become part of future worlds. The remnants of galaxies contribute to later structures. Energy changes form. Matter changes form. Nothing remains static. Reality continually transforms itself. A forest fire may appear destructive, yet over time, it creates opportunities for new growth. A river erodes mountains. It also creates fertile valleys. Change often contains both endings and beginnings. The universe demonstrates this principle on the largest scale imaginable. Even heat death is not a dramatic destruction. It is a transformation, a transition into another state, a different way of being. Far beneath the waves, glowing jellyfish drift through darkness. Their soft illumination appears almost dreamlike. Tiny lanterns floating within a vast ocean. The final stars of the cosmos may have seemed similar. Small lights suspended within overwhelming darkness. Brief islands of radiance. And perhaps that image contains an important lesson. The value of light is not determined by how long it lasts. Its value lies in the fact that it shines at all. A candle burning for an hour still illuminates the room. A star shining for 1 billion years still transforms its surroundings. A life lasting decades can still change the world. Duration matters, but it is not everything. Presence matters too. The simple fact of existing. The simple act of shining. As cosmic history advances toward its distant horizons, one begins to notice a recurring pattern. Nature rarely rushes. Forests grow slowly. Continents drift slowly. Stars evolve slowly. Galaxies transform slowly. Even the end of the universe unfolds with extraordinary patience. Perhaps patience is one of the deepest principles embedded within reality. Not because the universe chooses patience, but because meaningful change often requires time. The greatest structures emerge gradually. The largest stories unfold slowly. The cosmos itself seems content to wait. And waiting, when stretched across billions of years, becomes a form of artistry, the artwork of time, the sculpture of duration, the architecture of persistence. Imagine standing on a coastline at night. The ocean is dark, the horizon invisible. Waves arrive one after another. Steady, unhurried, ancient. You do not need to know where every wave originated. You do not need to understand every current beneath the surface. It is enough to witness the rhythm. The universe possesses similar rhythms. The birth of stars, the fading of stars, the expansion of space, the cooling of the cosmos, the approach toward equilibrium. Immense cycles unfolding far beyond ordinary scales, and yet somehow understandable, because they echo patterns found everywhere, in forests, in rivers, in seasons, in lives. The large often resembles the small. The cosmos often resembles nature because the cosmos is nature, the largest possible expression of it. As we continue drifting through this ancient future, the darkness grows deeper still. The distances become greater. The remaining events become rarer. Yet a remarkable tranquility emerges. The universe no longer feels busy, no longer feels crowded, no longer feels young. Instead, it feels vast, peaceful, reflective, like an endless midnight beneath cloudless skies. And within that midnight, every age that came before remains part of the story. Every star, every planet, every ocean, every mountain, every living thing, every fleeting moment of wonder. Nothing can erase the fact that they existed. Nothing can undo their place within history. The future may become quiet beyond imagination, but it remains connected to everything that came before. A final calm resting upon an immeasurably rich past. And so the universe continues onward, older with every moment, softer with every age, settling gently into the deepest stillness it will ever know, like moonlight spreading across a sleeping sea, like snow falling over forgotten landscapes, like a distant melody slowly fading into silence, not gone, simply becoming quieter, one patient moment at a time. In the silence of deep space, as the universe grows older and the distances between things become ever greater, it becomes easier to notice a curious truth. The cosmos is filled with absences. The spaces between stars are mostly empty. The spaces between galaxies are emptier still. Even atoms, the building blocks of matter, contain vast regions of apparent emptiness compared to the tiny particles residing within them. And yet from these enormous expanses of emptiness emerges everything. Mountains, oceans, forests, clouds, cities, songs, dreams, questions, consciousness itself. The universe seems remarkably skilled at creating richness from simplicity. Perhaps that is why its eventual quieting feels less frightening than one might expect. The same cosmos that produced complexity from darkness carries that history forward even as the darkness returns. Far beneath the surface of a still lake, sediments settle slowly toward the bottom. Tiny particles drifting downward through clear water. One grain alone seems insignificant. Millions of grains create an entirely new landscape. Time works similarly. A single second appears small, yet enough seconds produce civilizations. Enough centuries produce history. enough billions of years produce galaxies. The future universe is built from the accumulation of countless moments. No single moment creates heat death. No single event creates the final darkness. Instead, the future emerges gradually, patiently, moment by moment, age by age, like snowfall gathering across a winter field. Elsewhere in the universe's distant past, stars were being born at astonishing rates. Entire galaxies glowed with youthful energy. Nebulae stretched across space like luminous clouds. Massive stars lived brief and brilliant lives before exploding in spectacular supernovae. The cosmos once felt crowded, busy, energetic. If one could compare those early ages to the far future, the contrast would be extraordinary. It would resemble comparing a bustling city at midday to a quiet street long after midnight. Neither scene is wrong. Neither is superior. They simply belong to different times, different moods, different chapters of the same story. The universe experiences seasons of its own, not seasons measured in months, but seasons measured in billions and trillions of years. There's a season of creation, a season of abundance, a season of maturity, a season of fading, and finally, a season of rest. The story of heat death is ultimately the story of cosmic winter, a winter so vast that entire galaxies become snowflakes within it, a winter so long that even memory begins to feel ancient. Yet winter has always possessed a certain beauty. The bare branches of trees, the stillness of frozen lakes, the quiet after snowfall. Nature often becomes most contemplative during its coldest seasons. Perhaps the universe does as well. In the darkness of the far future, there may be no forests, no oceans, no living creatures gazing upward. Yet the principles that once created those things remain embedded within reality. The laws of physics continue. Space continues. Time continues. Existence itself continues. The actors may leave the stage. The theater remains. Imagine an ancient coastline after the sea has retreated. The waves are gone. The sound is gone. Yet the shoreline preserves evidence of everything that came before. Patterns in stone, curves in the landscape, traces of former tides. The future universe, similarly, preserves traces of its history. Its structure becomes a record, a memory written not in language, but in physics. Long before human beings ever existed, stars were already shaping the future. Each generation of stars enriched the cosmos with heavier elements: carbon for life, oxygen for atmosphere, iron for planets, calcium for bones. The universe spent billions of years preparing ingredients before life emerged to use them. There is something profoundly gentle about that thought. The cosmos did not rush. It assembled possibility piece by piece, patiently, quietly, like a gardener preparing soil long before seeds are planted. Perhaps patience and creation are more closely connected than they first appear. The greatest transformations often occur gradually. A forest grows slowly. A canyon forms slowly. A civilization develops slowly. A universe evolves slowly. The far future simply represents the continuation of that pattern. Even endings unfold gradually. Far beneath desert sands, ancient footprints can sometimes remain preserved for astonishing lengths of time. A brief moment of movement becomes a permanent mark. The traveler is gone. The footprint remains. Human existence may be similar. Our lives are brief compared with cosmic timescales, yet our influence extends beyond us. Knowledge accumulates. Ideas travel. Stories persist. Actions create consequences. Nothing exists entirely in isolation. Everything participates in larger patterns. The universe itself is a network of influences stretching across time. Stars affect planets. Planets affect life. Life affects history. History affects the future. The chain continues. The future universe contains the accumulated result of every previous moment. In the silence of deep space, there is another remarkable perspective worth considering. The atoms currently composing your body have traveled extraordinary distances. Some originated in stars that disappeared billions of years ago. Some were forged during ancient stellar explosions. Some wandered through interstellar clouds before becoming part of Earth. The matter within you has already participated in multiple cosmic chapters. You are, in a very literal sense, part of the universe remembering itself. A temporary arrangement of ancient materials. A brief gathering of stardust capable of reflection. And perhaps that makes the story of the end of the universe feel strangely personal, because we are not separate from cosmic history. We belong to it. We are woven into it. The stars are our ancestors. The future is our destination. Everything is connected through the long river of time. Elsewhere, beyond imagination, the universe continues cooling. The remaining energy becomes increasingly diffuse. The darkness becomes more complete. The stillness becomes deeper. Yet there is no sense of struggle, no sense of resistance. The cosmos is not fighting against its future. It is moving toward it naturally. The way rivers move toward oceans. The way autumn moves toward winter. The way evening moves toward night. These transitions are not failures. They are expressions of process, expressions of change. The universe ages because aging is what time produces. Nothing more, nothing less. And there is a certain serenity in accepting that. A mountain does not fear erosion. A wave does not fear the shore. The stars do not fear their eventual fading. Nature simply follows its paths. The cosmos follows its own. As the future stretches onward, the distinction between event and silence becomes increasingly blurred. Millions of years may pass without anything dramatic occurring. Then perhaps a rare interaction unfolds. A collision, a fluctuation, a tiny alteration within the vast stillness. Then quiet returns. The rhythm resembles raindrops falling upon a calm lake. One ripple, then stillness. Another ripple, then stillness again. The farther one travels into cosmic time, the more spacious those intervals become. Silence occupies larger and larger portions of existence. And silence, contrary to popular belief, is not empty. Silence contains room, room for thought, room for perspective, room for wonder. Perhaps that is why so many people find comfort beneath night skies. The stars encourage encourage quietness. The darkness creates space for reflection. The universe feels large enough to hold every question, even those without answers, especially those without answers. Far beneath ancient mountains, deep caves sometimes remain untouched for millions of years. No sunlight enters. No weather disturbs them. The chambers persist in remarkable stillness. Walking through such a place, one becomes aware of time differently. The world above feels distant. The ordinary pace of life seems less important. The future universe may inspire a similar sensation, a feeling of stepping outside urgency, a feeling of entering a scale where patience becomes natural, where waiting becomes meaningless because there is nothing to hurry toward, where existence simply unfolds, quietly, endlessly. And as the darkness deepens and the ages accumulate, the universe gradually becomes less like a story filled with events and more like a vast landscape of being, a landscape of silence, a landscape of memory, a landscape shaped by everything that has ever happened. The stars may be gone, the galaxies may be gone, even the black holes may be gone, yet the universe remains, older than imagination, calmer than language, still carrying the faint echoes of ancient light, still expanding, still existing, still drifting through the longest night that will ever be known. And somewhere within that immeasurable stillness rests a profound truth. The end of the universe is not a moment. It is an atmosphere, a slow settling, a gradual quieting, a cosmic exhalation continuing across eternities, gentle, patient, unhurried, like the final glow of twilight fading into a peaceful and endless night. In the deepest reaches of the far future universe, where even black holes have long since evaporated, and the last structured remnants of matter have dissolved into thin, widely dispersed particles, there exists a kind of stillness that is difficult to describe in any language shaped by younger eras of the cosmos. It is not the stillness of an object resting. It is not the stillness of a room without movement. It is a stillness stretched across unimaginable distances of time and space, where motion itself has become so rare that it feels almost like a memory rather than an experience. And yet, even here, the universe has not ceased. It continues in its most minimal form, a faint unfolding of existence, a quiet persistence of physical law, a gentle continuation of time. Far beneath the surface of frozen worlds that no longer orbit active stars, dust settles in patterns shaped only by the weakest remaining forces. Electromagnetic whispers, gravitational remnants, quantum fluctuations that rise and fall like the softest breath. Nothing dramatic, nothing visible from a distance. Only the smallest possible expressions of reality continuing to express themselves. If the early universe was a roaring ocean of creation, this distant future is more like a vast, glassy plain of water under a dark sky, where even the smallest ripple has become extraordinary. Over incomprehensible spans of time, matter itself becomes increasingly unstable. Particles that once seemed eternal begin to approach the limits of their existence. In many theoretical descriptions of physics, even protons may eventually decay, transforming into lighter particles and radiation. If such processes occur, they unfold on timescales so large that all previous cosmic history would appear brief in comparison. Galaxies would not simply fade, they would dissolve. Atoms would not simply drift, they would unmake themselves. Structure would not merely disappear, it would slowly forget how to hold itself together. And yet this too would not be violent, not sudden, but gradual, like ice melting in a place where even temperature differences have become almost imperceptible. In such a universe, the idea of place itself begins to lose meaning. Without large structures, without galaxies or stars, or even stable planetary systems, space becomes less like a populated landscape and more like an endless continuity. Distances still exist, but there is nothing to define them against. Direction still exists, but there are no landmarks to orient by. Time still exists, but there are fewer and fewer events to mark its passage. It is a universe of near-perfect quiet. And still, beneath that quiet, the rules remain. Physics does not end. It does not pause. It continues its subtle operations with perfect consistency. Even in emptiness, there is structure. Even in near-nothingness, there are laws. Even in maximum dilution, existence persists. Far away in this unimaginable future, random fluctuations become some of the most significant remaining phenomena. When everything is spread so thinly that interactions are rare, chance itself begins to shape the remaining possibilities. Particles may briefly gather. Energy may momentarily concentrate. Tiny structures may appear and vanish again before anything meaningful can form from them. These are not events in the way we understand them today. They are flickers within a vast, quiet background, like faint impressions on an almost perfectly still surface. Occasionally, over intervals so long that numbers lose emotional meaning, rare configurations may emerge that resemble the echoes of earlier cosmic structures. Not because the universe intends them, not because they are meaningful in a narrative sense, because probability, given enough time, explores even the most unlikely possibilities. And so the universe becomes a kind of infinite waiting space, a waiting that is not impatient, a waiting without expectation, a waiting that simply is. In earlier eras, waiting was always directed toward something, a star forming, a storm arriving, a sunrise, a discovery, a change. But in this far future, waiting has no object, no anticipation, no destination. It becomes pure duration, pure passage, pure time itself. And yet, even this emptiness carries a strange dignity, because it is still existence, still reality unfolding according to its deepest principles. The universe has not failed. It has not broken. It has simply reached a state where almost everything that can happen has already happened. Far beneath ancient cosmic dust, there may remain scattered photons still traveling outward from events that occurred billions or even trillions of years earlier. These photons continue their journey through expanding space, gradually stretching into longer and longer wavelengths. They become colder, dimmer, more diffuse, eventually blending into a background so uniform that it no longer carries any distinguishable structure. The universe becomes smooth not in appearance alone, but in informational content. Almost everything that once created distinction has been erased by time and expansion. And yet, even in this extreme uniformity, there remains something deeply important. The fact that change ever occurred at all. Because uniformity is not the starting point of the story. It is the endpoint of a long transformation. A transformation that began with intense energy, with dense plasma, with rapid expansion, with glowing stars and evolving galaxies. And all of that history remains embedded in the present state, even if only implicitly. The universe is a record that has been gradually simplified, not erased. In the absence of observers, there is no one to notice the quiet, no one to mark the passage of time, no one to measure the fading of structure. And yet the universe does not require observers in order to exist. It continues regardless, silently, indifferently, yet also, in a strange sense, faithfully, following the same laws that governed it at its most active. There is something profoundly stable about that continuity, something reassuring in the idea that even at its quietest, the universe is still itself, not transformed into something unrecognizable, but distilled into its most minimal expression, like a vast symphony that has reached its final fading note, now held in a long resonance that slowly diminishes across eternity. And as that resonance fades, what remains is not absence, but continuation. A continuation without complexity, a continuation without drama, a continuation without interruption. Just the ongoing existence of space, time, and the faintest possible expression of physical reality. If one could imagine standing within such an epoch, there would be no horizon in the usual sense, no edge of light and darkness, only a uniform vastness extending in every direction. A vastness so complete that it would feel less like emptiness and more like openness. An openness without boundary, without feature, without interruption. And within that openness, time would continue to pass, not quickly, not slowly, but meaningfully only in the most abstract sense. Because meaning, as it is experienced in earlier eras, depends upon contrast, upon change, upon difference. And here, difference has nearly vanished. Yet even in such a universe, there remains a subtle echo of everything that once was, not as memory, but as consequence. The universe remembers its own history through its present structure. And that structure, however simple it becomes, still contains the imprint of everything that led to it. The stars are gone. The galaxies are gone. The black holes are gone. But the universe is still here. And in its quietest state, it continues to exist in a way that is almost impossibly gentle. Like the last warmth of a stone that once stood beneath a star. Like the final ripple fading across an ocean that has long since gone still. Like a breath exhaled so slowly that it seems to merge with eternity itself. And in that immense, final quiet, the story of the cosmos does not end abruptly. It simply continues, softly, endlessly, into a stillness so complete that it can only be described as the universe learning how to be quiet.